Is 9:31 on the East Coast. Time for part two. It is Thursday, and that's time to take a trip around the Cross W Ranch with J.D. Wininger, who is standing by. So we'll switch to Studio 36 Alpha after this countdown. Well, good evening and welcome to pjnet.tv. I'm your host, Coach Prasick, and it is great to be here. I'm coming in for down the home stretch, you might say, as in fact, I was amazed that we were able to get everything put in place to get Mr. J.D. Wininger on the big set, on the big screen, and but I forgot to put him on there, so I've been doing that while I've been kind of rambling. So JD comes to us every Thursday night about 9:30 Eastern, and he is the caretaker of the Cross W Ranch, which you see the brand behind us, and his brand is his brand, literally. Okay, JD, you've even got the brand on your, is that your Army colored t-shirt in celebration of Veterans Day?
Yes, sir. This is a great one, isn't it? What a coincidence that is. Didn't even think about it, Coach.
I hear you.
It's what I had on. Right?
Yeah, and I lost something somewhere here. I have this black hole behind me. It's literally a black hole. But we'll fix it.
It's dark outside. It's a winter. It's dark outside.
Well, thank you for taking up my slack there, JD. You're always a good man, and I'll find us something to. Well, here, how about this won't fit, but we'll put it back there anyway, and we'll just put Old Glory back there because today is a special day.
Yes, sir, it is.
For veterans and any, well, it's a special day for all Americans, and I did not get the chance to research my apparent error last night. The name of the Marine Corps commander, sergeant, whatever he was not Pershing. That is John Blackjack Pershing, who was an Army man. Yeah, they make good people in the Army, don't they?
Well, that's all right, sir. Yeah. we all fight for freedom. That's what matters. Yes, sir.
You did. And folks, JD blogs at jdwininger.com. And if you haven't been there, I implore you to go there. He blogs every Wednesday. And this Wednesday, not a surprise, but a pleasant reminder that, we need to give, it's kind of like tithing your blog, so to speak. You dedicate your blog to something other than whatever the usual trajectory of the blog is. But you told an interesting story about something you're quite familiar with, the Rangers.
Yes, sir. Well, there's a few holidays each year: Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. Those are the special days. Now and again, I'll throw something in there on Independence Day, Coach. But those are the holidays that are special to me and have special meaning to me. As a blogger, as a writer, it'd be real easy to write something about every holiday, St. Patty's and everything else that goes on throughout the year. But I like to pay homage when I can to God and to my fellow veterans. That's important, and the families of veterans. A lot of times, Coach, people forget that the soldier or the sailor or the airman isn't the only one that goes to war, right? Their families back home fight just as many battles and just as many demons, worrying about what's happening. Boy, I wonder what they're doing today or tonight, or they look up at the stars and I wonder if they can see that. And they fight loneliness, they fight problems. What happens when the car breaks down and hubby isn't there to fix it, or what happens when the kids have a problem and mama's not there to fix it because she's deployed somewhere, for a year at a time, and things. All those things matter. So families, I hope, are given due and appreciation that they've earned as well, Coach. But I took a little different look at it this year. You know, normally I can talk about something I did in the service or something, and it's an easy topic because I lived it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I, I I looked at my Ranger Creed the other day because it hangs on the wall. Actually, it sits atop the bookshelf attached to the wall in my farm office. So I've got that and a bunch of memorabilia just strewn about, and looking at that, and at the bottom of it, I have that old scroll that I used to wear on my left shoulder all those years ago. And I said, geez, you know, look at that. And then I started drawing similarities between the Ranger Creed that, you know, just something that was ingrained within me through Ranger School and things. Boy, if you didn't memorize that young, used to be at PT, they'd say, give us a third stanza, somebody. And, you know, eventually the entire Ranger Creed was given, but you had to know to pick it up at any place within the creed. It was just, oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness, you know. But you know, it was important to remember because it really was the framework for the way we lived our lives as Army Rangers, and understanding that the neat thing is it went beyond the military. Coach, it's been a lot of years since I've been out of the military, and I look at that. I go back to those times, and they were good times and bad times. Yeah, I think we can all appreciate that. But I started to look at the similarities between how that Ranger Creed uh, I endeavored to uphold its values. And then I look at like the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed. And as a Christian, I endeavor.
Well, JD kind of froze up on us. How'd that happen? Hey, JD, if you can hear me, mute your video just momentarily. And let's see if that'll bring it back. Because he just went away. Not went away, froze. All right, well, I'm gonna mute the video from this end and see if that works. Nah, it doesn't. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect us temporarily, and we will try to reestablish that connection. And as soon as we do, we'll bring old JD back. Let's put this back up here. Well, you know, I was kind of hurrying through, paying my thanks, my sincere thanks. This may seem like a simple little device, folks, but this is not something you can go down to Walmart or Lowe's or Home Depot to get. These are specialty products that are brought in from, you know, all over the globe, and it's got. There's two basic sizes in the camera world. There's a 1/4 and a 3/8 inch, and this will accommodate both. It has a bunch of holes in it, so about half of them are one size and half of them are the other, and they're all co-located near each other. You can even set this up on a tripod, believe it or not. It's got why you'd want to do that, I don't know. While we're struggling to get JD back, JD, if you can hear me, just disconnect and reconnect using a different name or something. I'm going to go ahead and just manually disconnect him while I'm sharing with you all. And as soon as we can get JD back, we'll bring him back on the program. Let me update you on the event. I had told you earlier in the week that we hope by midweek next week to have I call it a pitch page. That sounds pretty cheesy. But it's basically, you know, when we promote this, when we tell people, hey, we're having this event, people say, well, yeah, I'd like to go. Well, then we need to have a link where you can go. And it's kind of interesting. Barbara has been working on this with me, as she does so many. Oh, you know, that other picture just found its way back. JD, I see you're try a different browser, sir. Use a different browser. Not reconnecting. Everything looks good here. Try a different browser, JD. Boy, I've got a mess back behind me now, don't I? I sure do. Yeah. Interesting. We'll just take that one out. How's that? Bingo. There's her. thought I'd set it up to do earlier, but anyway. So we've got 7 speakers. So for each speaker, I have to have a little short bio, 3 or 4 lines about the speaker, and then I have to have a mugshot. Now try to get 7 people that are, they're I don't want to say volunteers. We're actually, paying them, but try to get that information. Of course, you get pictures of all sizes. You get bios that are 2 pages long. It's like, I need this much. So Barbara and I have been we've been wordsmithing it, and of the 7 speakers, we've already got 5 of the 7 completed. And I see JD's trying to make a connection. Let's see what happens here. And what we've got is what we had before. We've got a big black rectangle representing where JD's picture and audio would be if things were working, but they're not. So I don't know if we're going to hear from JD tonight, to be honest, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of share some stuff with you. I've got to create a new session, or I hope that will work. But to get that to JD, I've got to email it to him, and you wouldn't believe how much it takes to just get my email up. Okay, but we're going to kind of struggle through this as I try to ad-lib about the event. So we've got this link, and it's got a really neat background that we made. It's a combination of a cross looking up into the sky with clouds and sun and all that kind of stuff, and the American flag. They're kind of blended together. Really a nice looking graphic. And so when you go to this thing, you can kind of read about the speakers, and see more about them, and you can see that we've got speakers, which is good. I'm composing an email to JD as we speak. And here we go. I have to actually create it now. So we're going to try a different link. See if sometimes something goes wrong on that end, having nothing to do with anything he did or what we did or anything like that. And I am going to send that email to JD with the link as we speak. All right. Cross your fingers. Maybe JD can still connect. So, we have a PayPal account, and, PayPal, a lot of people use it, but PayPal has some limitations. No matter what you do, when you go to use PayPal, they kind of make it seem like you need to get a PayPal account to use PayPal, which you don't. But if you scroll down far enough, you can find that you can actually use a credit card. But, all right, well, there's JD again. Amazing. Well, folks, never mind. I can talk about that later. And JD, I don't know what on earth happened, and I am so sorry that we are going through all of this, but we'll just have to figure out. Whoa! I gotta turn JD around, or his logo will be backwards. All right, let's just get something up here. JD, I'm going to make some changes in the studio while you're talking. You were talking
Coach,
about the both. It is convergent and it is parallel. The Rangers Creed and the Christian Creed, whatever form that may take.
Yes, the oldest, of course, in 2 A.D. was the Apostles' Creed. And about 320 years later, 323 years later, the Nicene Creed came about. But you could draw a lot of parallels. And just because I'm JD and this is the way I think, I took my Ranger Creed and I replaced the word Ranger with Christian.
Oh.
And you know what? It fit, Coach. For the most part, it fit. It aligned very well. And I went, okay, let's just see where this goes. But really, the big thing about it to me is how the Ranger Creed tied us together, brought us together as a unit. We had good old boys from the hills of Tennessee and a couple old bubbas from Central Florida, and we had guys from the West Coast and a couple of guys from overseas and things that were immigrants to our country. And it brought us all together because we shared that common bond and that common goal and things. And I said, boy, that's exactly what the way Christ set the church up to be, right? We're supposed to fellowship with one another. And if you look in the book of Acts, you can see where we all fellowshiped together and we all broke bread and shared everything. We'd sell what we had if someone was in need to help another and things. And that was a lot of the way it was in the military. I can remember not during my time as a ranger, but I can remember in basic training and infantry school, we were on like a 7 mile road march, which was a piece of cake. But one of the young fellows was an Army reservist, I believe. So he just had to get through the training and then he could go be his weekend warrior and do his thing. But he developed shin splints, Coach. And if you've ever had those or know anybody,
I know
those
exactly.
are painful.
You know why you get those, JD?
No, sir, no clue. I think it's just in this case, he was a little overweight and just more stress and things than
a contributing factor
he was used to.
It is an engineering anomaly in the human body. Most of our bodies are, our muscle groups are symmetrical. For every bicep, there's a quadricep.
Mm-hmm.
Or tricep, yeah. And so they have an opposing muscle because the muscles only contract, JD. They don't push. Mm-hmm. Muscles only contract. Except we have these way overdeveloped calf muscles, large muscle group. But what's on the front? Well, a bone. You can feel your leg.
Yeah.
So, and this is why shin splints happen, is the shock absorption effect that muscles have to absorb shock and avoid injuries. So it's just the way our bodies are engineered.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's just like our connection a few minutes ago. It's what happens when you cross elephants and rhinoceroses.
I don't know. It's a mess.
But in any case, this young man was struggling to keep up with the rest of the company and things, and I was a platoon leader, whatever that was supposed to be. In training, I had gone in with a little rank and things because of ROTC in high school and whatnot. But I said, well, if I'm a leader, my job is to make sure everybody gets to the finish line, right? So I fell back and moved one of the squad leaders up, just keep them moving. And I fell back and I took this guy's rucksack. So I had my rucksack and his rucksack, and I'm helping him along. And you are going to finish this, and things.
I'm sure those are the words you used.
Oh, sure, you bet. But in any case, Coach, that's what I thought a leader should do. Is go back and help them out. Well, boy, that ended up costing me in the end. But I'll defend to this day that I did the right thing. I helped my fellow soldier out. Drill instructors didn't see it that way that day, so I had to repeat that march. But that's okay.
For some historical perspective, you said rucksack. Now, folks, that's not a backpack. Okay, as you would see today. And the funny thing is, if you go back to the Roman legions, they carried about 70 pounds. And armies, foot soldiers have always carried about 70 pounds. So when you say you picked up his rucksack in addition to your own, you took on a load, buddy.
Yeah, we do what we do, Coach. Mm-hmm. But bottom line, aren't we supposed to do the same thing in the church today? When you see somebody struggling in church with their faith, you're supposed to come alongside them and lift them up and help them, Coach. And I got thinking about that. I said, let's see where that goes, right? And one of my favorite parts of the Ranger Creed, and folks that'll read the post will see the third stanza, but it starts with a simple sentence. It says, "Never shall I fail my comrades." So when we look back, and there's been studies on why there wasn't more desertion in the Army on the battlefield and things.
Mhm.
And the number one answer, the things that all the researchers always came back to, Coach, is, oh, I stayed because I can't let my buddies down, right? They're your buddies, they're your partners, they're your friends. They're your lifeline in some
Mhm.
cases, Coach.
Mhm.
And you can't abandon them. You can't leave them. So, yes, it's scary and frightening to be in the heat of battle and things. But, as long as they're standing there with you, I'll keep standing, buddy.
Yeah.
And we'll get through this together. So that's kind of where I took that from. But today, Coach, you don't see that so much anymore. And, I look at it now, and, there's two things that I remember. We used to always sign everything RLTW, Rangers lead the way, right?
Okay.
And if you're a Ranger qualified, you could say that, and no problem. You'd see another one coming with a black beret. Of course, back in the day, we wore black berets. We didn't wear those sissy tan berets, but Shinseki decided, oh well, we'll just improve the esprit de corps of the entire army, and we'll make everybody wear a black beret. Well, that did make a lot of ex-Rangers happy,
No,
because that black
absolutely
beret
not.
was earned every bit as much as
Hmm.
that green beret was earned, or the
Right.
maroon beret by the 80 Deuce or the
Yeah.
82nd Airborne, and things. So that black beret was bought and paid for, buddy.
Now the
But
black beret, was that standard issue?
yes, sir.
Is a green
and
beret?
and and I wore the black beret. In fact, I've got a coffee cup somewhere behind me. Says earned, not issued.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a difference, Coach.
The green
But
beret is not standard issue. There's no such thing.
the Green Beret is standard issue for Special Forces, Coach.
It
Not
is, but
Special Operations.
it's not regulation.
No, sir. No,
You know,
sir.
it's
Sure
not regulation. Go ahead.
But in any case, I look at that, and then the regimental motto that we had was the Latin phrase, "Sua sponte," and what that means is of their own accord. So you had to volunteer to become a Ranger coach, and in the same way, uh, you have to volunteer to serve as an ambassador for Christ. Do we not? We have to surrender ourselves. We have to give up ourselves and you know pick up his cross and follow him. That's what his word tells us we need to do. So the moment of our salvation, we have a lifetime enlistment in God's army, buddy, and we need to honor that. And his word is the creed that we must live by as Christians. But I don't see a lot of that happening today, Coach. I don't see a lot of esprit de corps among Christians. I don't see a lot of unity. They'd rather argue about which denomination, which doctrinal thesis is right, and none of that really matters. If you follow the important stuff, then God's going to bless you, and you're going to help this world see God. But if we're so busy in the church fighting amongst ourselves, Coach, or and some churches look so much like the world that the world can't tell them apart, Coach. And if you're not set apart, then what good is it? If you have the same problems and you deal with things in the same ways, then what good is your religion, Coach? That's just kind of the way I look at it, buddy. That's kind of where I went, but this week I just wanted to pay homage to those brothers and sisters in uniform that I served alongside and thank them. But of course, I had to put a Christian twist on it, and that is to look at the creeds. And we talk about them, but we don't apply them to our lives anymore. And we need to do more of that, I think, Coach.
Well, JD, I don't have the creed in front of me, but one thing I learned reading your blog is
what
that
would
the
you
creed
like to know?
is an acrostic. So each stanza starts first with R and then with A. So you were saying that today we've lost that in some of that in the church, or at least some, to some extent.
Some parts of the church, yes.
Yeah, and immediately the first stanza, makes mention of recognizing the fact that there are risks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But see, there's this. I'm almost wanting to say apostasy. There's this gospel message out there that says, God wants to bless you. God wants to solve all of your problems. God wants to heap wealth upon you. Well, okay.
Show me that in the Bible, Coach.
Yeah. Well, but there's also recognize. Is that the first word in the first stanza? Recognizing.
Recognizing thy volunteers a ranger. Yes.
Yeah. Recognizing that there is an inherent risk in being Christian. See, we want it both ways. We want to be protected by God. We want to be nurtured by God. We want to be blessed by God. Oh, but no, we don't want to put ourselves at any risk. We don't want to, you mean, tithing? We need to do that. I mean, I don't know. I thought God wanted to give me money.
I guess I should finish that phrase, Coach. It's fully knowing the hazards of my profession. Mm-hmm. I will always endeavor to uphold the prestige, honor, and the high esprit de corps of my Ranger Battalion. Of course, now it's Ranger Regiment, I think it says. Yeah. But, back when I earned that tab, there was the Ranger Battalion. So,
now
that was it, Coach.
That training was at Fort Benning, I believe?
Yes, sir. Ranger School was at Fort Benning. We went Fort Benning. We went up to Dahlonega. We went down to Eglin, there to Camp Rudder, So the jungle phase, 9 weeks, all total. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not going to try to date you, but this was at a time in
late 70s, Coach.
Okay, all right. So we're in the same slot there. There were This was a time that schools, desegregation, the civil rights movement. Now, my cousin was a Ranger.
Okay.
He wasn't good for anything else, but anyway. He's my favorite cousin. But I can remember him. Okay. He was home for the holidays, and we were talking about race relations. And he started telling me, he says, when you get in Ranger training, and you're depending on that hand to take you up to the next level of the obstacle, he said, that ain't a black man. That's a man. Yeah. Did you have similar
just
experiences?
Your brother, Coach. Yes, sir, but that happened, but I'll be honest, that transformation happened for me long before Ranger School, playing ball. I can remember growing up, and my biological or claimed biological father had a sheet or had a white robe. He was a member of the Klan, and very proud of that. And I was brought up in that environment at a very young age. So it was nothing for me to use those expletives and those words. It's just in the South, that's what...
They were just nouns. Yeah.
Yeah, if and then and but, But I learned different when I started interacting with people of color. They're no different than you and I, Coach. They hurt, they bleed. They cry just like you and I do. And when you start seeing people for being people, and you quit allowing Satan, because he's the chief liar, right? He's a master of deception, and he's the one that grows division. I don't think as the world expanded and people skin pigmentation and things adapted to the environments upon which they were in, I don't think those differences mattered a hill of beans until somebody told them that they made a difference. And I'll just ask you, Coach, I don't know how we got down this rat hole, but I'll just ask you, have you ever seen two little kids playing together in preschool? Little white child, little black child, they're just playing together. They're best buddies.
They don't have a clue, do they?
They're having fun.
Yeah.
nobody cares. And then all of a sudden, when they're about third grade or so,
Hmm.
they're taught that they
Taught.
have to be afraid of one another, and the distance and the chasm grows, Coach. And that's what's wrong. Is we if we continue to propagate those ideas that, oh no, they're different, you got to be careful,
Hmm.
or watch, boy,
Yeah,
they're all
that's just
silly,
like a.
worthless, and
Hmm.
useless,
Just like.
and the more we propagate that kind of nonsense, the more it goes on. But the neat thing about the military, Coach, and I hope the church too, but the neat thing about the military is they stripped all that garbage away.
Hmm.
We were all in the same mess together. I guess is the best way to put it. And we didn't care what color they were. If it was raining and you had an extra tent half or a poncho liner or something, you shared it. I don't care with who. It
Hmm.
didn't matter, Coach.
Yeah.
But that kind of brotherhood, that kind of fellowship, uh, where's that at in the church today, Coach? We don't always see that, do we?
No, and we also have a tendency to shoot our wounded. Yeah, you were talking a
Yeah.
moment ago that brought something to my mind I hadn't reflected on in a long time, and I wanted to get your take.
Okay, sure.
Desegregation was tough in this part of the world
Yeah, it
where I
was. I got a chunk missing from this year because of
uh,
it. Yeah.
and and I think you illustrated it quite well. We tend to learn these values. They're taught to us. We learn them. They're not natural. Well,
No.
my mother was distressed because I was about in the seventh grade, or at the time, seventh grade, and she literally had the superintendent of schools come to our home to discuss when desegregation was announced. Now, you understand how it is in the old South. Whoever's running
Yeah.
the school board, they own the county, man. I mean, they ain't nobody
Oh,
more
sure.
powerful in
Yeah.
this county than Dude Bishop. And
Yeah.
she said two things that I remember. She said, dude, there's got to be something you can do. And Dude Bishop, who was raised in the South, just he said, Lou, that was my
Mhm.
mom's name. This is bigger than us. We're going to have to make it work.
Mhm.
I can't stop this. But then my mother said, well, I've got an idea. And here's the idea I wanted to try out on you. My mother had this idea.
Okay.
Let's desegregate the first grade. Next year, we'll desegregate the first grade, so now it's first and second. I thought,
Hmm.
I know that doesn't meet the criteria that the government from on high had declared, but I think it's a pretty brilliant idea. What do you think?
Coach, I think that could have worked, a gradual thing. But I think you hit the nail square on the head when you said that wasn't what the government planned.
Yeah.
That was part of the problem. And here's something that I contend, and I doubt that she's watching, but I think the smartest girl in our class, now she didn't end up being valedictorian, but she was one of the smartest young ladies that I knew, was a young black girl named Amelia Bell. Beautiful girl. She actually was a cheerleader and things, and just a sweet and wonderful young lady. Another one who was ended up being a bank teller for me for years and years, Miss Rosa Smith. Just sweet, wonderful people. And the difference was uh, they were raised in an environment that black and white it didn't matter, Coach. They were
Mm-hmm.
just people,
Mm-hmm.
and they treated us like we were people, and we treated her and her brothers, or them and their brothers, like they were people, and we just got along. It was fine, but their parents had ingrained that in them. In other ones, it was, oh no, you got to fight Whitey over here,
Mm-hmm.
and things,
Mm-hmm.
and that was tough, Coach. But I think what happened was the government should have just stayed out of it, and things would have worked out pretty well. I think over time it would have
Over
been a
time.
gradual thing.
Well,
But
if you.
what they claimed for the purpose for desegregation was schooling, and I can agree with all that, and education and things. But they said, well, our goal is, the white students' education is here, and we're second and third in the world in mathematics and science and things. and the black students is down here somewhere. So we need to desegregate and bring them together so that we
They're on
bring the
par.
blacks up
Yeah.
to the whites' level of education. Well, Coach, what seems to happen in this old Bubba's mind, and I'm sure somebody that's much more of an educator's background than what I have can tell me I'm wrong, and I'll certainly entertain that concept. But what happened is rather than bringing them up to our level, we kept lowering the standards, to get to so we could find that equity, or that equitable thing. What happened is we lowered the standards for everybody, and now you look at what you got in the education system today, right? Johnny can't read, write, and don't even ask him to use a calculator, Coach, because it ain't going to happen. Oregon doesn't even teach reading and writing and arithmetic anymore because that's not part of the social sciences that people need to be adults. Yeah, no, Sparky, you need to know how to balance your checkbook. Yeah, but I'm sorry, I get on a tangent here, Coach.
Well, I think let me make the point in a more spiritual way, and take the race out of it. If you, as a Christian, begin hanging around a secular, pagan, lost group, the likelihood that they will bring you down is far greater than you bringing them up. Just likelihood.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There is something that this argument that you're making is not a new one. It's been going for several decades. Private schools weren't that big a deal until desegregation. That boomed private schools. Well, guess who went to the private schools? Well, the best and the brightest. So you've siphoned off. You see, you're a statistician. What's that going to do? And of course, and I have even made the argument, errantly, I think, to some extent, is, if you took the budget of a school system and divided annual budget, divided by the number of students, you would arrive at the cost per student per year. Mm-hmm. All right, then compare that to private school tuition, and it's higher, not a little higher, a lot higher.
Right. Yeah.
And you say, well, gosh, let's just take the money and send them to private school. Well, those private schools wouldn't be as good because, see, private schools get to decide who they take. and typically the ones that seek those are from a background of, oh boy, I reluctantly use the word privilege, but it does fit. The less fortunate.
Affluence fits,
affluent. So that has an effect in comparison as well. But anyway, I don't know where we got down that rabbit hole.
But then you have charter schools and things, Coach, and they pick based on academics and capability, not on capability to pay, Coach.
Right.
And that is, to me, the great equalizer. When you look at some of those schools, and some of them are in the inner cities, Coach, and you look at the caliber of educated students they produce, it's quite astounding, Coach. So it's not fair to say that everything about the public school system is defunct and decrepit and terrible. There are some good examples, but they choose to alienate those or hold those out in favor of, oh no, just do what the masses do rather than see what works and copy that. But that's the government and bureaucracy these days, Coach.
Well, here's my take, JD. I don't think you can fix the schools with any amount of money. Okay, and here's why. And I can say this having some experience in teaching, both as a coach and as a substitute teacher. My conclusion is this: the problem isn't that our children can't read and write and those skills that we measure so carefully. You will never solve that problem. I don't care how much money you throw at it, because here is what I believe to be the problem. When you have children going to school who don't have a father figure in their household, that child is undisciplined. It is a ship without a rudder. Okay? When you have children in school that do not have respect for authority, I don't care what you do. Okay? You're never going to get anywhere with that. You've got to fix the attitude. You've got to fix the spiritual problem. See, we're addressing, or I say we, the bureaucrats, the government, those that manage our schools, they are addressing the fruit instead of the root. And until you fix the family,
Yes, sir.
until you fix attitudes, give me good attitude, I'll make a winner. I don't care.
I agree.
Give me all the talent in the world with a bad attitude, can't win.
We're running late, and appreciate everybody staying in the chat room. The creed, be that the Ranger Creed, be that the Airborne Creed, which is very similar to the Ranger Creed, believe it or not. Some say the Ranger Creed was born from the Airborne Creed when Command Sergeant Major Gentry wrote it. I don't know. Never had the honor of meeting that gentleman. Or the Apostles' Creed. A creed sets a standard for performance, a level that you should attain, that you should endeavor to attain. And what you're saying is there needs to be that level set in our education system and things too, that we should always work to that. Unfortunately, today, that standard doesn't exist in many places, Coach. God's Son, Jesus Christ, set that standard. I will never attain that standard in this life, but I have the promise. My hope is that God's Word tells me that He will ensure that I get there. Romans 8:28 is there for a reason, Coach. And Jeremiah 29:11 is there for a reason. And I will get there upon that upward call, Coach. And that's all that I need to keep striving to meet that mark, to meet that target.
Amen, JD. And in conclusion, when I read the Ranger's Creed, which I haven't memorized, but there was nothing in there about how fast you could run a mile. There was nothing in there about how accurately you could fire a weapon. In other words, the things that we measure, okay, math scores, English scores, all these scores. No, the creed has to do with your attitude. Your attitude. And that's why I say what I say, is we need to fix some attitudes. Yeah. And when you fix the attitude, watch those other things improve. Watch. You
get that right, everything else falls into place.
It certainly does. Well, gosh, I could talk to you all night, JD. I really enjoy sharing with you.
I know.
You've been very generous.
Just visiting with an old friend.
Yeah, I love it, JD, and appreciate your message.
Just say Happy Veterans Day to everyone, and thank you all so much.
All right, love you, JD. Appreciate you sharing, brother. Well, gosh, I know it's late. But gosh, we just share, and thanks for hanging in there with us. You all are very long suffering. And we had some connection problems, so we kind of had to redeem that time a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't. JD, I'm gonna disconnect that session over there that's struggling so badly. There. Gosh, I wish there's so much. Hey, you want to know what's going on at PJNet? Just give me a call or hit me up on Facebook. We're going to start rolling some things out as early as next week. This winds it up for me this week, but it doesn't wind it up for PJNet. We're on the air Monday through Friday. On Friday, I'm not here. I get the night off. The Duke of Hazards, Steve Hazards, will be here. He starts about 9 o'clock Eastern time. We just kind of play music, or he does. He takes control. I mean, I'm just, in fact, I was absent last week. I was not feeling well at all. I went to bed like at 7 o'clock. I sent Barbara a message. Look, I'm going, But we kind of let our hair down and enjoy some old retro tunes, and he plays a little jazz and some other neat stuff. And but then at 10 p.m. he will be on the air with my perspective and comment, which goes almost an hour. And that'll be the hour that you can take a look. He will guide you through events of the week that have been in the news and how we as Christians see it through the lens of the Scriptures. Not the lens of the media, but the lens of the Scriptures. And then he'll have some media commentary that he harvests and shares with us. And then he goes with a higher look at the end. And that's his wind-up. But that's a nice sermon in and of itself, that he uses God's Word to reflect upon the events that are happening around us in the world, that we see beamed into our houses, on our computer screens, television screens, iPods, whatever. Okay, so I hope you'll make your plans to be here for that. So I'll enjoy the time off tomorrow night, and I leave you this week anyway with 2 questions. Together they form a challenge. They've helped me. I hope they'll help you. What is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? Second question, when was that? If we're going to live up to that creed that J.D. spoke of, recognizing what we've signed up for as Christians and the risks. Yeah, we take the blessings, but recognizing the risks, we're going to have to be courageous. So as we reflect upon those 2 questions, I hope that we'll never be satisfied with either answer.